Coach, back for another spring. How have things gone so far?
It's been good. Obviously, some things have changed in terms of just some new staff, a little new scheme. But at the end of the day, spring is spring, so that part is the same. And just a chance just to work fundamentals, techniques, find out what we can and can't do, strain, put those guys in some situations that maybe they didn't get this past year. So it's been great. At the end of the day, ball is ball, and we just got to keep working.
Coach, what are a few things, just looking at last year, seeing how well you guys did, that you kind of wanted to, maybe improve going into next season in the spring?
Great question. Consistency, that's the big thing. Early in the year, it's a little rough. We played some really good teams, but just really challenging those guys to take the fundamentals, the drill work into the team settings, and more importantly, when I'm tired or I have to focus in certain situations, that's been the big thing. The guys have been working. I'm seeing guys do things that they haven't done as consistent, so that's a good thing. But for us, for me, for this unit, it's about consistency.
Last 3 years, 3 different D coordinators here with Coach White, Coach Crum, now Coach Summers. I guess, what kinds of things have changed, whether that's your approach to things or schematically or what?
Sure. And the blessing in that is you get a chance to learn from 3 really, really, really good coordinators. More importantly, men. So from a personal standpoint, that part has been phenomenal. Just kind of navigating myself through this coaching process. I'm still a younger coach, so it's been great just to lean on all 3 of those men in my career. But also, too, from a schematic standpoint, there are some differences. And then you learn and you pick up bits and pieces. But the good thing about D-line play is 4 down is 4 down, 3 down is 3 down. So not always the calls for me. I don't care as much about the calls. For me, it's the techniques and fundamentals. So for all 3 of those coordinators, that part has been still pretty consistent. So it's been good. It's definitely been good.
In terms of the guys, you lose some big pieces. Obviously, D'Angelo, you lose Darvin, who's been here for 8, 9, 10, whatever years he was here. You guys bring back a couple of starters with Ship and Juwan. I guess, what are you expecting from those 2 specifically, and who's kind of stood out to you so far?
Yeah, and really the standard has not changed. The standard is the standard, and so just to continue to build off the success we've had as a unit. Of course, Juwan with his leadership. Of course, Ship, who's battling an injury, but he will be back, and he's been present in what he needs to be doing. But guys like Broderick Martin, I thought he came along very well last year towards the end. Ended up starting the bowl game and played his best game. So he kind of hit stride, and he's really been picking up and staying with that the rest, throughout spring and the offseason stuff. And you bring in some newcomers. Mike Allen's another guy, not a newcomer, but we've challenged him in the run game, challenged him in the physicality piece, and he keeps stepping up to that. We got some young guys, Terrion Thompson, he's done a tremendous job. Guys like Chase Jones, Jake Jackson, who should be in high school, is coming out here getting work in. Darion Goodrum, brought him in from a JUCO. So it's just overall from a collective standpoint, yes, 34, 97 got the most experience, and they know what their expectations are. But just watching those other guys come along with them and challenging those guys to lead the room. So it's going to take a collective unit, collective whole. Guys know I believe in playing guys, strength in numbers, and my dad, who was a high school coach, told me a long time ago, you're only as good as your depth. And with it being a big man's game, it's a physical game. We got a lot of games. So I just believe in making sure that the next guy's up, and any variety of or lineups that I want to get to or we want to get to, I can plug those guys in. So it's been good.
A couple of those guys you mentioned with, Mike and Broderick, it seemed like as the season progressed, they started making more and more plays for you guys, and it seemed like those 2 especially were really strong down the stretch. And, the roles that they had to be in, how much did you see that kind of helping heading into this offseason?
It was big. It really was. And those guys came from us from 2 different schools. And the great thing about it is they were coachable, okay? They bought in, but it just took maybe a little bit longer to get a feel for me as a coach, the techniques and fundamentals, and then overall scheme. So there was just a natural, organic curve that they kind of had to go through, and they just stayed the course and stayed the process in terms of just going to work every day, and then it started to click for them. So that has definitely led up to where they are now. And I challenge those guys, we ain't going back. You're just going to keep building off what you've done. So they've been in full stride, and they know me more. They understand the fundamentals and techniques. And it's just a little different scheme, but at the end of the day, like I told you guys, it's techniques. And so them guys have been great. They've been great. They come to work every day. So I'm pleased with them.
Coach, obviously, it looks like you're really active in the recruiting process for a lot of guys. What are some things you're really looking for in players coming here?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, for me, it's a fit piece, okay, and everybody says culture, okay, but I'm big on relationships. So you know, finding the right guys that fit that, the character piece, the culture piece, the work ethic piece, and then of course, let's be realistic. You know, are they talented players? And so that's big, you know. And so as you go through the recruiting process, you find guys that fit your style of play, that fit our style of play defensively, and then of course the ability they've been given to help us on the field. So it's not an exact science, but at the end of the day, it's a people business, and so just try to sell myself as a coach, sell this program, and then we'll get the right one. So it's a combination of both.
You know, kind of going off that a little bit, a lot of turnover on the defensive staff these last couple of years. You've kind of been that consistent guy these last few. You know, as Coach Crum last year. How much do you think that helps? You know, even with other position groups on the defensive side of things, where they're familiar with you.
Right. Yeah, hopefully the coach will keep me here. Keep me here, and I'm thankful for that. But no, it's like I said, it's giving me a chance to be that constant, and I don't take that lightly or take that for granted. And you know, you just do you pick and choose, and you know guys' personalities and temperaments, and what guys need and what they don't need, and so it has been good. And I think it is good to see a familiar face in terms of just some consistency, some glue, and just being able to maybe somebody words it this way, but hey, all he's saying is do it like this. And so that's kind of helped bridge communication, bridge some of the schematic piece. But man, these guys, hopefully just as much as they've appreciated me being here, I've appreciated them as well too, because you know I'm kind of going through it as well too in terms of newness. And so it's good to kind of, yeah, the guys, we've been through it all together and we'll figure it out together. But I definitely try to be intentional about just pulling guys. How you doing, man? How's your family doing? Because I know those other coaches that have gone, because that's what they were, because they cared about those guys as young men and not as players. And so our new coaches are doing the same thing, but I just try to be that constant piece for those guys.
You know, kind of going back a little bit to D'Angelo, you know, had his pro day here last week, was back in town. I guess working with him these last few years, you know, what's it been like? How much have you worked with him heading up to the draft, and what do you think will make him a successful professional?
Sure, I'm so proud of him, and honestly, just from the maturity standpoint, and you know, going back to when he first got here, Coach Lindsey, Coach White, and those guys, and they did a great job of just kind of laying the foundation for him, and on top of his mother and his family back at home. But you know, he had some ups and downs. He decided to come back that last year, and he was focused. And we talk about being a pro, and I'm so pleased with his development, really more off the field than he is on the field. And he did a great job on the field. So it's been great. It's been awesome. People been, you know, blowing up my phone, and man, I see your guy at Senior Bowl. I see your guy at the Combine, and so he gets all the credit. But he just really changed his mentality. He got more mature. You know, he realized that, man, you know, we get one chance at this thing, and so I'm just so pleased with that piece. And then we've had conversations, we've talked, you know, and just kind of giving him my insight. Coach Lindsey's been over at South Carolina's been big in that piece as well too. Just kind of, hey man, be you first and foremost, okay? But these are some things that people are looking for. What are you thinking about these drills? All that good stuff. So I mean, not as much communication as when we were here, but we've been there. But I'm so pleased with him. The sky's the limit, you know, and just wish them all the best. It's great for our university, our program, our guys up front. So.